When people talk about David Phelps, the conversation usually revolves around his unforgettable voice, his time with the Gaither Vocal Band, and his reputation as one of the most celebrated gospel tenors in modern Christian music. His soaring range, crystal-clear tone, and heartfelt delivery have touched millions across the globe. Yet, while fans know about his music, his faith, and even his wife and children, there's one part of his story that has remained quietly tucked away in the shadows. His family background, particularly the story of a mysterious brother that has left fans curious for years. David Phelps was born on October 21, 1969, in Texas, into a Christian household where music and faith were central. His parents were devout believers who encouraged their children to pursue excellence in their God-given gifts. From a very young age, David displayed an almost supernatural vocal ability. Teachers, church members, and family friends all noticed that this little boy's voice was unlike any other. By his teenage years, David was already performing and developing the style that would later define his career. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. While David was making a name for himself in the world of gospel music, his family was not just quietly supporting him from the background. He had siblings, brothers and sisters, who were also pursuing their own dreams, some in the arts, others in more private lives. Among them, there has always been talk of one brother in particular, someone who has remained largely hidden from the spotlight, and yet, whose influence may have been more profound than most realize. Over the years, fans have noticed how rarely David speaks about this brother in interviews. He often highlights his parents, his wife Lori, and his children, but when it comes to siblings, details remain scarce. This has naturally led to speculation. Who is this mysterious brother? Why has he remained in the background while David's fame has skyrocketed? And what role, if any, has he played in David's journey as an artist and as a man of faith? To understand this family dynamic, we need to look deeper into David's upbringing. Growing up in Tomball, Texas, the Phelps household wasn't only focused on academics and faith, it was filled with music. Pianos, guitars, and hymnals were everywhere. Singing together as a family was common practice, and it's in this environment that David's voice was nurtured. But it wasn't just him. His siblings were also musically inclined, and one of his brothers showed exceptional ability as well, though he chose a different path. Some close friends of the family have hinted that this brother valued privacy and simplicity, preferring not to live under the bright lights of fame. Unlike David, who embraced the stage and the challenge of international tours, his brother reportedly remained closer to home, investing his life in quieter, more personal callings. Could it be that this decision created a sense of mystery around him? Or perhaps, his story simply hasn't been told because David has always respected his wish for privacy. Whatever the case, the presence of a brother who shares David's background but not his fame adds another layer to the singer's journey. It's a reminder that behind every star is a family with its own complexities, stories of sacrifice, choices, and sometimes, deliberate silence. As fans continue to speculate about David Phelps' mysterious brother, one thing is clear: family has always played an irreplaceable role in David's career. Even if his brother isn't in the limelight, there are signs that he has had a quiet but powerful influence on David's life. In interviews, David often shares how much his family taught him about resilience, faith, and humility. While he rarely gives names, he has hinted that his siblings, especially his brothers, were not only his earliest audience but also his most honest critics. They challenged him, pushed him to do better, and in many ways shaped the man he became. Could it be that this hidden brother was one of the first people to tell David the truth about his gift, not just praising him, but reminding him of the responsibility that comes with it? There are also whispers in the gospel music community that this brother might have been musically gifted himself but chose not to pursue a career in performance. Perhaps he loved music but decided that his calling was different, maybe in ministry, education, or another quiet path. If true, this choice would explain why fans rarely see him on stage with David, and yet, why David often speaks with such reverence about the strength of his family foundation. Some insiders even suggest that David's brother was the one who often grounded him when the pressures of fame felt overwhelming. Imagine being in David's shoes: world tours, studio recordings, and the weight of representing gospel music to millions. In those moments, having a sibling who lives outside of that spotlight, someone who sees you not as a star, but simply as a brother, can be the greatest gift of all. And here's where the story becomes less about mystery and more about meaning. Perhaps the reason David Phelps hasn't shared much about this brother is not because there's a scandal or a dark secret, but because he deeply respects his siblings' choice to remain private. In an age where everything is broadcast on social media, and every family detail becomes public knowledge, maybe the truest act of love is protecting the privacy of those who never asked for the spotlight. Still, the fascination remains. Fans wonder, if David's voice is this extraordinary, does his brother share that same musical DNA? Has he ever sung publicly, even if just in church? Does he live a completely different life away from music? These unanswered questions only fuel the intrigue. What we do know is that David Phelps' story cannot be separated from his family. His brother, whether mysterious, private, or simply choosing another path, represents a part of David's identity that fans may never fully see, but that clearly shaped who he is today. Behind the sold-out concerts, Grammy nominations, and Gaither Vocal Band tours lies a man whose roots are deeply tied to a family that has always valued faith over fame. In the end, the mystery of David Phelps' brother might never be fully solved. And maybe that's exactly the point. Some stories are meant to remain private, reminding us that even public figures deserve boundaries. For David, the balance between public life and private family bonds has always been a careful dance. And perhaps his brother is the clearest example of that truth. So the next time you hear David Phelps hit that incredible high note, or pour his heart into a soulful ballad, remember, there's a family behind that voice, a brother who has chosen a different road, and a hidden family truth that adds depth to the legacy of one of gospel music's most powerful voices.